The shuttle slowed as it entered the thin blue clouds of Capricorn. From the window, the planet looked calm, almost gentle, soft rings of light wrapped around the horizon, and cities floated like quiet islands. Evan Holy sat still in his seat and reminded himself why he was here. New planet, new job, clean start. He had signed a 5-year contract with the Interstellar Survey Course. The work was simple on paper: maintain sensors, log data, and report changes in the local environment. No combat, no politics, no drama. That was what they promised. When the shuttle landed, the calm feeling faded. A voice filled the cabin, flat and formal. "Welcome to Residential Zone Theta. Please follow local regulations without exception." The words "without exception" stayed in Evan's mind longer than the rest. The terminal was quiet, too quiet. No crowds, no noise, no signs written for humans, only symbols that glowed faintly on the walls, shifting shapes that made his eyes ache if he stared too long. A single official waited near the exit, tall, blue-skinned, and expressionless. "You are the human resident," the official said, not as a question. "Yes," Evan replied, keeping his voice steady. "Your housing unit is prepared. You will live alone, follow the neighborhood rules." "What rules?" Evan asked. The official paused for a moment. "You will learn them by observing." That answer did not help. A small transport pod carried Evan to his assigned home. The buildings were smooth and curved, grown rather than built. No doors were visible until the pod stopped and the wall opened like water parting. Inside, the house was clean, fully stocked, and silent. Too perfect. Evan placed his bag down and activated the welcome screen. A list appeared. No loud sounds during rest cycles. No entering neighboring units unless invited. No physical contact without consent. No questions about personal origin. No sudden movements during communal hours. He frowned. Communal hours for what? And why did so many rules feel like warnings? That was when he noticed the neighborhood. Through the wide front window, he saw other houses lining the curved street. Doors opened one by one. Figures stepped outside. They were all women, at least, they looked like women. Tall, graceful, different skin tones. Some with glowing eyes. Some with faint markings along their necks and arms. They moved with calm confidence, like they knew exactly where they belonged. Every single one of them turned toward Evan's window at the same time. Not aggressively, not friendly either, just aware. Evan's breath slowed. This was not mentioned in the briefing. No mixed species housing, no families. No males in sight, just him and them. One of the neighbors stepped closer to his window. She did not wave. She did not smile. She simply studied him. Like a puzzle she had solved before, Evan raised his hand slowly, unsure if greeting was allowed. She tilted her head, then walked away without a word. The others followed, returning to their homes in silence. That night, Evan could not sleep. The house lights dimmed on their own, matching the planet's slow dusk. Outside, soft lights glowed along the paths. He lay awake, listening. There were sounds, not voices, not footsteps, a low hum, like energy moving through the ground. Sometimes it felt like the neighborhood was breathing, at exactly the same time every cycle. The hum stopped. Silence followed, heavy and complete. Then the lights in every neighboring house went dark together. Evan checked his console. No alerts, no warnings, no explanations, only one new message. Status note: human resident, detected by all local units. Detected, not welcomed, not greeted. The next morning, Evan stepped outside carefully. Communal hour. According to the schedule, the neighbors were already there, standing in small groups. They spoke softly in a language that flowed like music. When Evan appeared, the conversation stopped. One of them finally spoke to him. "Human," she said calmly. "Yes," Evan replied. "You live here now?" "Yes." She studied his face, then nodded. "Observe more than you speak," she said. "It is safer." Before Evan could ask why, she turned away. The others followed, leaving him alone again as the day went on. Evan noticed something else. The neighbors watched everything. How he walked, how he handled tools, how he reacted to silence. They did not interfere. They did not help. They simply watched. By the end of the cycle, Evan understood one thing clearly. This planet was not hostile, but it was not kind either. It was testing him, quietly, patiently. He sat inside his house as the lights dimmed again, recording his first report. Arrival successful, he said. Environment stable. He hesitated, then added. Social conditions unknown. Recommend caution. Outside, unseen by him. Several neighbors paused near his home. Their eyes glowed. Faintly in the dark, the human had arrived, and the observation had begun. Before the next part begins, if you enjoy slow-burn sci-fi stories like this, consider subscribing to the channel for more human-first science fiction journeys. Evan did not know it yet, but this quiet neighborhood would soon learn something important. Humans were not loud, they were not flashy, but once tested, they did not break easily. Evan noticed the pattern on the third day. Every neighbor was female, not one male voice, not one male shape, not even a hint of mixed families. At first, he thought it was coincidence, then curiosity, then concern. During communal hours, the women gathered again. They stood at equal distance from each other, no one too close, no one too far. Their movements were smooth and controlled, like they followed an invisible rhythm. Evan stayed near his doorway, remembering the warning. Observe more than you speak. He watched how they interacted. No touching, no laughter, only calm exchanges and brief eye contact. When one spoke, the others listened fully. No interruptions, no raised voices. Power here did not come from volume. It came from certainty. Evan took a step forward by mistake. The ground panel beneath his foot lit up softly. Every head turned toward him again. Not fast, not sharp, just focused. He froze. Slow movements, he reminded himself. The rule echoed in his mind. No sudden movements during communal hours. A tall neighbor with silver markings along her arms approached him. Her eyes were a deep violet, glowing faintly. "You are learning?" she said. Her voice was calm, but carried weight. "Learning what?" Evan asked carefully. She tilted her head slightly. "Where do you stand?" Before he could respond, she stepped back into the group. The moment passed, but the air felt heavier. Later that cycle, Evan reviewed his assignment files again. Kepper was listed as stable, cooperative, and low risk. No warning about gender imbalance. No notes about social tension. No mention of behavioral observation. Someone had left things out that evening. A neighbor finally spoke to him directly again. Her skin was pale gold, with faint lines moving slowly. Beneath it, "You wonder why we are only women," she said. Evan did not deny it. "Yes," he replied. "Is that not unusual?" She considered his question for a long moment. "On this planet," she said, "men do not live among us." The words were simple, too simple. "Where are they?" Evan asked, keeping his tone neutral. "Elsewhere," she replied. That was all. The answer did not ease his thoughts. It sharpened them. Over the next few days, Evan noticed more unspoken rules. Neighbors never entered each other's homes, even during storms, even when systems flickered. No one offered help. No one asked for it. They respected boundaries with almost rigid discipline, as if crossing them carried a cost no one wanted to pay. Evan also noticed how they watched him change. At first, they studied him like an object, then, like a variable, now, like a possible factor in something larger. When he used human tools, their eyes followed closely. When he adjusted a sensor faster than expected, they exchanged brief looks. When he stayed calm during a power fluctuation, a few lingered longer than before. Still, no praise, no reaction, only attention. The danger was not obvious. There were no threats, no weapons drawn, no warnings spoken aloud. The danger was quiet. It lived in pauses, in what was not said, in how every neighbor always seemed ready. One night, Evan woke suddenly, not from sound, but from the absence of it. The hum beneath the ground was gone again, but, this time, it did not return. He checked his console. System normal, environment stable, yet his instincts told him something was wrong. Through the window, he saw shadows moving between houses. Not fast, not slow, purposeful. He opened the door slightly, just enough to see. The neighbors stood in a wide circle, their eyes glowing brighter than before, focused inward, not on him. At the center of the circle was an empty space, clean, deliberate, waiting. Evan felt a chill move through him. This was not a meeting. This was preparation. One of the women glanced toward his house. Their eyes met briefly. For the first time, her expression changed. It was not curiosity, it was assessment. She gave a small nod. Not approval, not warning. Acknowledgement. Evan stepped back and closed the door quietly, his heart steady, his mind racing. Whatever this place was, whatever rules governed it, humans were not part of the design. Yet he was here, observed, measured, and slowly being factored into something he did not yet understand. As the lights dimmed again, Evan recorded his next report. Neighbors? Cooperative but guarded, he said. Social structure, incomplete. Possible risk factors, unidentified. He paused, then added one final line. Recommend continued observation. From both sides, outside. The circle broke apart. The women returned to their homes in silence. The empty space remained, waiting, by the fourth cycle. Evan understood one clear truth. He was no longer just a resident. He was a subject, the alien. Women did not hide their attention anymore. They watched him openly now. From doorways, from upper platforms, from behind translucent walls that bent light but did not fully block it. They did not stare with emotion. No anger, no fear, only focus. To them, Evan was not a threat. Not yet, in their quiet way. They had already decided something about humans. Humans were fragile. Humans were short-lived. Humans survive by noise, numbers, and tools. Evan sensed this not from words, but from behavior. When he walked past them, they did not move aside. They expected him to adjust. And he did, calmly. When equipment failed in the street grid, they repaired it without asking his help. They assumed he could not assist, and he did not interrupt. This was the observation phase, and Evan chose silence as his shield. Each morning, he followed the same routine. Check sensors, log atmospheric drift, inspect energy nodes. Nothing dramatic, nothing flashy. The neighbors watched closely. They measured how long his hands shook under strain, how fast he recovered from fatigue, how often he paused to think instead of act. They saw his limitations first, his slower movement, his softer body, his need for rest. Cycles more often than theirs. To them, strength meant endurance, without pause, emotionless control, perfect balance. Humans did not fit that image. Evan realized something else. They did not value adaptability. They valued stability. A human adjusted, learned, changed behavior based on risk. To the neighbors, change meant weakness. If you had to adapt, it meant you were not designed well enough. Evan kept this thought to himself. He stored it away, like a tool not yet needed. One cycle. During communal hours, an object fell from an upper platform, a small energy cell. It shattered on the ground between Evan and two neighbors. Evan stepped back instantly, hands open, body angled. Away, the neighbors did not move. They watched, waiting. Evan understood the test immediately. If he panicked, he confirmed weakness. If he rushed forward, he broke rules. So he did neither. He waited, counted his breathing, then calmly activated his wrist console and neutralized the energy leak from a distance. The women exchanged subtle glances, not impressed, but curious. He had solved the problem without entering their space, without speed, without force. That was not expected. Later, Evan noticed something new, the way they spoke about him. Not directly, never directly, but he caught fragments. Translated phrases from the ambient language filter: soft frame, unarmored, limited lifespan, emotion reactive, weak. That was the conclusion, forming quietly among them. Evan did not feel insulted. He felt informed. Back on Earth, humans had learned long ago that being underestimated was an advantage. That night, Edmund reviewed old mission training, human survival psychology, asymmetrical problem solving, threat assessment under silent pressure. He smiled faintly, not because he felt confident, but because he felt prepared. The neighbors believed strength was visible. Humans knew strength often hid itself until needed. On the sixth cycle, one neighbor finally approached him again, the same tall woman with silver markings. She stood just outside his personal boundary. "You do not react as expected," she said. Evan nodded slightly. "I try not to," he replied. "Most species respond with fear when watched." She continued. "You respond with patience. Patience keeps me alive," Evan said simply. She studied his face longer this time. "You accept being seen as weak?" she said. "Yes," Evan answered. "For now." The word "for now" lingered between them. She stepped back without another word. That night, the hum beneath the ground changed. Frequency. Evan felt it through the floor. A deeper vibration. More focused. He checked his console. Internal systems only. No external alerts. Outside, the neighbors gathered again. Not in a circle this time. In lines. Facing outward. This was not preparation. This was defense. Evan watched from the shadows of his home. Silent. Still, they still thought he was weak, and that belief made them comfortable. Evan made a quiet note in his log. Observation ongoing. Local population underestimates human threat potential. He paused, then added, "This may prove critical." As the lights dimmed once more, Evan understood the real danger. It was not that the alien women were watching him. It was that they believed they already understood him. And humans were most dangerous when no one believed they could be. The incident began without warning. No alarms, no announcements, just a sudden change in the air. Evan felt it first as pressure behind his eyes, a dull tightening, like the planet itself was holding its breath. The ground hum deepened again, but this time it did not settle into rhythm. It stuttered, paused, then surged. Outside, lights along the street flickered out of sync, one by one, then all at once. The neighbors appeared instantly, not running, not rushing, but moving with sharp purpose. Evan stepped outside, slowly, carefully. He saw it then. At the far end of the residential arc, a section of the energy grid had collapsed. The air there shimmered, violently, bending light and sound. A containment failure. Alien instincts took over. The women spread out, forming a precise formation around the unstable zone. Each took a fixed position. No one crossed the invisible boundary. No one improvised. They were following protocol, perfectly. Evan's console began to beep softly. Human systems reacted differently. His readings showed something the grid sensors missed. The failure was not expanding evenly, it was folding inward, compressing. If it reached critical density, it would not explode. It would implode, taking everything nearby with it, including several homes. Evan realized the danger before the neighbors did. Not because he was smarter, but because he was trained to expect systems to fail in unexpected ways. He raised his voice slightly. "Your formation is wrong," he said, calm but firm. Every head turned toward him. The silver-marked woman stepped forward, eyes sharp. "You were mistaken," she said. "Our protocol has contained failures for centuries." Evan nodded. "I believe you," he replied, "but this one is different." They did not move. To them, deviation meant risk. Instinct said hold position. Trust the system. Human logic said the system was lying. Evan made a decision, a quiet one. He moved. He stepped past the boundary line. Slowly, deliberately. Gasps rippled through the group. Not fear, shock. He ignored them and knelt near the edge of the shimmer. His console projected a crude model into the air. "Simple shapes, simple math. The energy is folding," he exclaimed, voice steady. "If you hold the line, it will collapse inward." He adjusted the projection, showing a tight spiral. "You need to vent asymmetrically." This silver-marked woman hesitated. Her instincts screamed to pull him back, to restore order, but something stopped her. The human was calm, not reckless, not panicked. One of the younger neighbors spoke, softly. "What happens if we do nothing?" Evan did not look up. "Your homes disappear," he said simply, "and so do we." Silence followed, heavy, tense. Then the silver-marked woman made a choice, a small one, but dangerous. She raised her hand and changed the formation to neighbor's broke position, redirecting energy flow as Evan indicated. The shimmer reacted immediately. Its violent distortion softened, then stretched outward, releasing pressure in controlled waves. The hum beneath the ground shifted, lowered, stabilized. Within moments, the grid settled. Lights returned, the air cleared. The crisis was over. No cheers followed, no celebration. The neighbors stood still, processing what had happened. Their protocol had failed. A human adjustment had saved them. Evan stood slowly and stepped back across the boundary. Hands open, non-threatening. "I broke your rule," he said. "I'm sorry." The silver-marked woman studied him for a long time. Then she spoke words Evan never expected to hear. "You acted with restraint," she said, "not impulse." She inclined her head slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement. It was not respect. Not yet, but it was a crack. That night, the neighborhood felt different, quieter, sharper. The neighbors still watched Evan, but their gaze had changed. Less dismissive, more calculating. Evan logged his report. Incident resolved. Human logic, effective. Against non-standard failure. He paused, then added, local population adapting perception of human capability. Outside, two neighbors stood near his home longer than usual, speaking softly, repeating one phrase again and again. Unexpected variable. For the first time since arrival, Evan allowed himself a small breath of relief. He had not proven humans were strong. He had proven something far more dangerous. Humans could see what others missed. The change did not happen loudly. It moved through the neighborhood like a quiet adjustment in gravity. After the incident, the alien women no longer dismissed Evan as background presence. They still did not praise him, they still did not invite him closer, but their behavior shifted in small, important ways. They asked fewer questions and watched more carefully. Evan noticed it during routine maintenance. A sensor node failed again, this time a minor one. Before, they would have handled it alone. Now, they waited. Not for permission, for observation. Evan repaired the node using a human workaround, not replacing the damaged part, but rerouting its function through a secondary channel. Temporary, efficient, imperfect. The silver-marked woman watched closely. That solution will degrade over time, she said. Yes, Evan replied, but it buys time to understand the real problem. She did not respond immediately. Her kind valued permanent solutions, final answers. Humans valued time. Later that cycle, Evan was summoned. Not invited, summoned. He entered a shared structure. At the center of the residential arc, the space was wide and bare. No decorations, no seats. Only light and silence. Several of the women stood in a semicircle, not surrounding him, not threatening, assessing. You altered a system without authorization, one said. Yes, Evan replied, and it worked. Another added. Yes, Evan said again. The silver-marked woman stepped forward. You do not seek optimal design, she said. You seek survival under uncertainty. Evan nodded. Systems rarely fail the way we expect, he said. Humans learned that the hard way. This was the first time he spoke openly, not defensively, not cautiously, just honestly. The room grew quiet. Confusion rippled among them. Their society was built on prediction, on control, on perfect balance. Human logic was different. It assumed imbalance. It planned for mistakes. It accepted loss to avoid collapse. They did not understand that mindset, and that unsettled them. Later that night, the hum beneath the ground changed again. Not deeper, not louder, more complex. Evan checked his console and froze. A regional system outside the residential zone was failing. A planetary relay. If it collapsed, communications would go dark for months. The neighbors felt it too. They gathered quickly. Tension visible. Now, this was beyond residential protocol, beyond routine containment. This system cannot be adjusted, one said. It must be stabilized fully or shut down, said another. Evan stepped forward. Slowly. There is a third option, he said. They turned toward him as one. What option? The silver-marked woman asked. Divide the load, Evan replied. Let it fail in a controlled way. Murmurs spread, sharp and uneasy. Controlled failure was not a concept they accepted. Failure is unacceptable, one said. Collapse spreads, another added. Only if you fight it, Evan replied calmly. Sometimes the safest move is choosing where to lose. He projected a simple diagram. No complex alien models, just lines and flow. If you vent pressure here, he said, and isolate this node, you lose efficiency, but you save the network. The silence that followed was heavy. Their instincts rejected the idea. Their experience warned against it. But memory lingered. The earlier incident, the saved homes. Finally, the silver-marked woman spoke. You ask us to accept imperfection? Yes, Evan said. Humans live inside it. They made the adjustment. Slowly, reluctantly. The relay dimmed. Sections went dark, but the system held. The planet did not lose communication. It adapted. Confusion spread through the alien society. Not panic, not fear. Something worse, doubt. Their belief in perfect systems cracked, just a little, enough to let a new idea in. Humans were not strong like them. Humans were not precise like them. Humans survived chaos by shaping it. That realization unsettled everything. After the relay stabilized, the women did not disperse immediately. They looked at Evan differently now. Not as weak, not as equal, as something unpredictable. Evan logged his report later, hands steady. Human strategy, effective in large-scale systems. Local society experiencing conceptual disruption. He paused, then added, this may lead to resistance or adaptation outside the neighborhood. Lights dimmed unevenly for the first time, not synchronized, not perfect. Evan watched the pattern and understood the shift. The aliens had learned how humans survived, and they did not yet know how to feel about it. Power had not changed hands, but understanding had moved. And that was often the first step. The real test did not come with noise, it came with silence. The planetary relay adjustment worked, but it revealed something far more dangerous. A flaw, not in technology, but in thinking. The alien society had relied on perfection for generations. Every system balanced, every response calculated, every outcome predicted. Human logic had introduced uncertainty, and uncertainty made them uneasy. The next cycle, the hum beneath the ground did not return at all, not even briefly. Evan felt it immediately. The silence was wrong. Too clean, too empty. His console lit up with delayed warnings. Multiple systems across the region were failing, drifting.
To the aliens, this was worse than collapse. A system that drifted could not be controlled. The neighbors gathered faster than ever before. Their calm was still there, but tension now lived beneath it. This state cannot continue, one of them said. Our balance is degrading, another added. Evan stood among them, not separate anymore. Still quiet, still careful. You are trying to force the system back into order, he said. That will break it. The silver-marked woman looked at him steadily. Then what do humans do? She asked. Her voice held no challenge now, only need. Evan took a slow breath. We stop forcing control, he said. We guide it. Confusion spread through the group. Guide without control sounded like weakness to them. Evan activated his console again. But this time, he did not project data. He showed history. Images from human records. Storms diverted. Networks rerouted. Cities surviving disasters not by resisting them, but by adapting around them. We don't dominate chaos, Evan said calmly. We listen to it. No shouting. No command. Just truth. One system node suddenly spiked. Energy surged unpredictably. Several neighbors moved instinctively to shut it down. Evan raised one hand. Slowly. Deliberately. Wait, he said. Not loud. Not urgent. They froze. Not because he ordered them, but because he had been right before. Evan adjusted the node's parameters gently, letting it release pressure in small pulses, not fixing it, letting it breathe. The spike softened, then settled. The neighbors watched closely. Their instincts screamed to act faster, stronger. But Evan's calm changed the room. His control did not come from authority. It came from understanding. "This is your mistake," Evan said softly. "You believe strength is holding everything still." He looked at them one by one. "Human strength is knowing what can move without breaking." The silver-marked woman stepped forward. Her posture changed. Less rigid. More open. "You accept instability," she said. "Yes," Evan replied. "Because it is honest." Something shifted then. Not in the systems. In their minds. They began to see the pattern. Humans survived not because they were strongest, but because they adapted faster than fear. The desynchronization slowed. Not because it was forced back into balance, but because it found a new one. The neighborhood lights returned. Not perfectly aligned, but stable. No alarm sounded. No victory was announced. The alien women stood quietly, absorbing what had happened. Their society had always believed dominance meant control. Humans showed them dominance could be calm, patient, unyielding without aggression. The silver-marked woman inclined her head again. This time deeper. "This changes how we see you," she said. Evan nodded. "It changes how you see yourselves too," he replied. That night, Evan logged his report. Human adaptive strategy validated. Local population reevaluating core assumptions. He paused, then added, "Humanity's strength lies in calm decision-making under uncertainty." Outside, the neighbors no longer avoided his home. They did not surround it either. They stood nearby, not watching, learning. For the first time since arriving, Evan felt no danger in the silence. The HFY moment was not loud, not dramatic, not violent. It was the moment an entire alien society realized. Humans did not need to overpower others to lead. They only needed to understand what others feared and move calmly through it. The new balance did not arrive in a single moment. It formed slowly, like light returning after a long eclipse. The systems across Kepri 9 stabilized into patterns no one had designed. Not perfect, not rigid, but alive. The alien women studied the results carefully. They did not rush to restore old order. They did not reject the change either. For the first time in generations, they waited. Evan remained quiet during this phase. He fixed what he was asked to fix, observed what needed watching, and said nothing more than required. That silence mattered. The neighbors noticed that he did not push for influence. He did not demand authority. He did not claim credit. He allowed them to reach conclusions on their own. One cycle later, the silver-marked woman approached his home. Not during communal hours. Not as part of a group. Alone. This alone was a signal. "You altered our path," she said, standing at a respectful distance. "Yes," Evan replied. "But you chose to walk it." She considered his words. "Our society believed strength meant control," she said. "We believed calm was obedience." And now, Evan asked. "And now we see calm can be command," she replied. That was the moment Evan understood the danger had passed. Soon after, representatives from outside the residential zone arrived. Observers, planners, system minds. They spoke with careful precision and listened more than they spoke. Evan was invited to sit among them. Not below, not above.
Beside. They asked him how humans planned for failure. How they lived knowing systems would break. How they continued without certainty. Evan answered simply. "We accept risk," he said. "We share it. And we prepare each other." That idea spread quietly. Through councils. Through system cores. Through cultural memory. The alien women did not become human. They did not abandon their ways. They integrated something new: flexibility. In return, they offered something rare: an alliance. Not written in law, not sealed by command, but understood. Humans would help guide systems under uncertainty. The aliens would provide stability where possible, each covering the other's weakness without shame. Evan returned home that night under a sky brighter than before. The lights no longer dimmed in perfect unison. They pulsed gently, like a living heartbeat. He recorded his final report. "Mission status complete," he said. "Local society stable. Alliance established through mutual respect." He paused longer than usual, then added, "Humans effective not through dominance, but presence." Outside, the neighbors gathered again. Not to watch him, not to test him, but to stand with him. The silver-marked woman spoke one last time. "Your species does not shout," she said. "You do not threaten. You do not force." Evan looked around at the quiet street. At the homes still standing. At the systems still running. "We don't need to," he replied. That was the lesson Kepri 9 would remember. Humans were not loud. They were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But they were unstoppable. Because they adapted. Because they stayed calm. Because they moved forward while others froze. As Evan stepped back into his home, the planet continued its steady rhythm. No longer perfect, but resilient. And somewhere deep in the system logs of an alien world, a simple truth was recorded. When the universe grows uncertain, do not look for the loudest voice. Look for the one that stays calm.